Hi there, this is Steve Priestley, and you're watching Movies.
The final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise. Her ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
You've guessed it, this week we're taking a break from our usual lineup and heading out into the wild starry yonder in the company of Star Trek, one of the most enduring movie and television series ever known to man, or any other race for that matter. In the course of the show, we're going to boldly go at speed warp 9 through all the movies, the original TV series and the highly successful Next Generation. And as we travel through the many worlds of Star Trek, remember nearly every film and show that we feature this week is currently out on video.
Engage. May the wind be at our backs.
Captain's log, stardate 7412.6. 2.7 hours from launch. In order to intercept the intruder at the earliest possible time, we must now risk engaging warp drive while still within the solar system.
Captain, assuming we have full warp capability, accelerating to warp 7 on leaving the solar system will bring us to IP with the intruder in 20.1 hours.
Science officer's computation confirmed, sir.
Well, Bones, do the new medical facilities meet with your approval?
They do not. It's like working in a damn computer center.
Programming ready?
Program set for standard warp entry, Captain. But I still recommend further simulation study.
Mr. Decker, every minute brings that object closer to Earth. Engineering, stand by for warp drive.
It's borderline on the simulator, Captain. I cannot guarantee that she'll hold up.
Warp drive, Mr. Scott. Warp 1, Mr. Silver.
Accelerating to warp 1, sir. Warp 0.7. 0.8.
Wormhole. Get us back in impulse power. Full reverse.
Stabilizers 2 and 6 are redline.
Negative down control, Captain. Going reverse on impulse power.
Subspace frequencies jammed, sir. Wormhole effect.
Negative control for inertial lag will continue 22.5 seconds before forward velocity slows to sublight speed.
Unidentified small object has been pulled into a wormhole with us, Captain, directly ahead.
Crossfair's up full.
Wormhole distortion has overloaded the main power systems.
Will the manual override on help?
No manual response, sir.
Navigational deflectors inoperative, Captain. Direction control also inoperative.
Time to impact.
20 seconds.
Let's check off. Stand by on phasers.
No. Belay set. Phaser order. Armed photon torpedoes.
Object is an asteroid.
Target hit. Asteroid.
Impact in 8 seconds.
Fire torpedoes.
6.
Torpedoes. Away.
4.
We're out of it.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
After that speech, 1960s America went crazy over the space race. The moonshots were a hit all over the world, and it wasn't long before TV wanted in on the act as well. An ex-pilot turned scriptwriter, Gene Roddenberry, persuaded NBC, one of the big three American TV networks, to let him make a pilot for a science fiction drama series. Strangely, the network hated it. Too much science fiction, they said, not enough action. But for the first time ever, the TV network agreed to look at a second pilot show.
We made him a second show, which had a lot of science fiction elements too, but at least it ended up with Bill Shatner in a bare-knuckle fistfight in which he beats a godlike figure. That started us. We sold Star Trek with it.
There were a lot of crew changes for the successful second pilot, a new all-action captain and his crusty medical sidekick, though Roddenberry refused to dump one character that the TV executives had really hated.
I believe there's some hope for you after all, Mr. Spock.
It was all systems go. On September the 8th, 1966, the first ever episode of Star Trek boldly went where TV had never gone before.
Phaser on 1/4. I'll leave mine on stun. Let's get him.
Captain Kirk is Captain Hornblower of the sailing ships, who was a great hero, and Hemingway said is the most exciting adventure fiction in the human language.
Captain, we're getting a signal from the spacecraft.
I was pleased that in those days, when you couldn't get even blacks on television, that I not only had a black, but a black woman and a black officer.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us.
No visual contact yet.
Great affection I have for Asians and what they do and the important part they play in the world, and I just could not have a group of Earth people without including that great, one half or more of the Earth continents.
How close will we come to the nearest Klingon outpost if we continue on our present course?
1 parsec, sir. Close enough to smell them.
Chekhov came on the show because I'd read something, and someone had sent me a copy of a Russian newspaper in which they said after our first year, the ugly Americans are at it again. We were the first people in space, but the Americans don't even have a Russian aboard this crew.
Why, that power leak has unbalanced the ship and she's starting to drift. I can't hold her in place that long.
Scots have always been shipbuilders and ship engineers and so on, and that was a bow to tradition.
If I push these impulse engines too hard in the condition they're in, they'll blow apart.
Fascinating.
Star Trek became a cult series with characters and catchphrases known all over the world.
I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up.
Too much of anything, Lieutenant. Even love isn't necessarily a good thing.
I can't change the laws of physics.
Fascinating.
I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
What am I, a doctor or a moon shuttle conductor? I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
Keep saying that. Are you a doctor, aren't you?
Fascinating.
He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim.
Dead, Jim.
But the show certainly isn't. Despite the protests of millions of fans, Star Trek was cancelled after only 3 seasons, yet its popularity never stopped growing. Finally, in 1979, 10 years after the last TV show, the next phase of the Star Trek voyages began.
We had been told in the course of the last 3 or 4 years that we were going to do Star Trek again, and each time it fell apart. It didn't materialize. So it's hard not to become jaundiced and cynical about this kind of situation. But there we were. We were really doing it. And I had this almost overwhelming desire to embrace everybody.
Permission to come aboard, sir.
Granted, sir. Granted.
Spock. Spock.
I've been monitoring your communications with Starfleet Command, Captain. I offer my services as science officer.
All decks and divisions confirmed. Status red.
Captain, we are being scanned.
Do not return scan, Mr. Spock. Could be misinterpreted as hostility.
Losing the pattern.
Oh no, they're formed.
Intruder scans emanating from the exact center of the cloud. Energy of a type never before encountered.
Because that was so costly a project, they said that would be the only one. And when they said wrap on that, we said, yeah, but it was an extraordinary achievement. 10 years after that, to have a major motion picture But then that made tons of money. So we did another one.
I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia and round the Antares maelstrom and round perdition's flames before I give him up. There she is. There she is.
Shield's collapsing, Captain.
Can you give me major power?
A few shots, sir.
Not enough against their shields.
The base is starboard.
Scotty, I need warp speed in 3 minutes or we're all dead.
Fire!
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive, buried alive.
Dramatic stuff. And there's more drama to come. The rest of the box office blockbusters. The leap forward into the next generation. And some very rare footage that didn't get on screen. Beam up and join us for part 2 of Movies, Movies, Movies.
Oat bran
Oat bran.
may help reduce cholesterol.
May help reduce cholesterol.
As part of a low-fat diet.
Medical experts suggest 2 out of 3 people would be wise to consider reducing their cholesterol. So it's common sense to care about what you eat. Couldn't someone in your life use a little common sense?
I don't know why I love you, but I do. I don't know why I cry so, but I do. I only know I'm lonely and that I want you only. I don't know why.
The new Cinquecento and the city were made for each other.
Welcome back to the Movies, Movies, Movies Star Trek Special Edition. Coming up, the rest of the Star Trek movies 3, 4, 5 and 6. Life in the 24th century with the next generation, plus a sneak peek behind the scenes at some off-the-record outtakes saved from the original series. So, Phasers on Starner's Movies, Movies, Movies boldly goes where no TV show has gone before.
Battle station. Activate shield. Inform the Klingons we are on a rescue mission.
They're jamming all the frequencies, Captain.
Alert. Klingon torpedoes activated. Alert.
Evasive action.
Lights.
Permission to speak candidly, sir.
Granted.
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities.
And why not?
Because there was no way to win.
A no-win situation is a possibility every commander may face. Has that never occurred to you?
No, sir. It is not.
The movie series has gone from strength to strength. The first set a new box office record for its first week on release, and the rest of top cinema box office and video charts as well. Star Trek 3 picked up where number 2 left off, with the Enterprise in action again, searching for a key crew member in the debris of a dying planet.
Why did you leave him on Genesis? Spock trusted you.
Fireman Scott.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
This entire crew seems on the edge of obsessive behavior concerning Mr. Spock.
Sir, security reports the door to Spock's quarters has been forced.
After finding Spock, they squeezed themselves back into their uniforms and set off on the voyage home and ended up in about the strangest place they'd ever been.
Judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived at the latter half of the 20th century.
All right, who are you?
You're not exactly catching us at our best.
That much is certain.
This is an extremely primitive and paranoid culture.
Does it mean exact change?
Many of their customs will doubtless take us by surprise.
We're ready for beam-out. My transporter power is down to minimal. I've got to bring you in one at a time.
You're from outer space.
No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space. Let's do our job and get out of here.
Take off, can you hear me? I'm lost.
Who are you? I'm coming with you.
You can't. Our next stop is the 23rd century.
Shields at maximum. Steady. Hold on tight, lassie. Can we make breakaway speed? That's all I can give you. Up, now.
Everyone thought it'd be over once the Enterprise reached the 23rd century again.
You'll need all the power you can muster, mister.
But as always, Star Trek managed to prove the pundits wrong with another box office record breaker. And this time, out in the wilds of the American West, Captain Kirk was in charge behind the cameras, as well as in front of them.
If you're unaccustomed as I am, it's a little scary. Fear of falling is a natural fear. And my worst nightmare, as many people's are, is falling.
Greetings, Captain. I do not think you realize the gravity of your situation.
Attempts at a madman had taken over the Enterprise.
You look like you've just seen a ghost.
Perhaps I have, Captain. Our destination is the planet Shakari, Eden, at the center of the galaxy.
The center of the galaxy can't be reached.
If you ask me, and you haven't, I think this is a terrible idea. We're bound to bump into the Klingons.
Remain on course.
Shoot him!
You know I'm right. Spock, my only concern is getting the ship back. And you're either with me or you're not.
Put him in the brig with Captain Kirk.
I'm a prisoner on my own ship.
What are you standing around for? Do you not know a jailbreak when you see one?
Mr. Scott, you're amazing.
There's nothing amazing about it. I know this ship like the back of my hand.
Emergency channel open.
A hostile force has taken control of our vessel. Put us on a direct course with the Great Barrier.
Understood, Enterprise. We are dispatching a rescue ship immediately.
Good!
Bearing 105, Mark 2.
Let me do something. Mr. Sulu, full ahead.
Transfer power to warp drive. Warp speed now.
And last year they were back at it again. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, outperformed the earlier films at the cinema, mixing mad Romulans with classic Shakespeare, as all enemies met in a final dramatic clash.
You do prefer it this way, as it was meant to be. Warrior to warrior.
You cannot take much more of this. Try havoc! Shield! And let's slip the dogs of war. Fire!
Only time will tell if that's really the last Star Trek film, but it is for the moment.
I think there's some wonderful Star Trek moments in it. And our series, if you look at the success of Star Trek, it was built on moments.
How old do you think I am anyway?
137 years, Admiral, according to Starfleet records.
Explain how you remember that so exactly.
I remember every fact I'm exposed to, sir.
I don't see no points on your ears, boy. But you sound like a Vulcan.
No, sir. I'm an android.
Almost as bad.
Rumours of a new Star Trek series had begun back in 1972, and the first movie was originally planned as a TV series called Star Trek Phase 2. But in September '87, a new Enterprise with a nervous new captain set off into space.
Let's see what's out there. When this first became a possibility, a good friend of mine here in Los Angeles said, this was, I think, just before my final meeting for the role, how does it feel to be auditioning for an American icon? And I think that remark unnerved me more than anything else that had been said about it at the time, because although
I'd seen a lot of Star Trek in the 60s and early 70s. I still had no comprehension of how much a part of American culture this series had become.
Star Trek The Next Generation is set in the 24th century, about 85 years after the classic series' 5-year mission ended, and quite a lot has changed since then. The Enterprise is bigger, the Klingons are part of the crew, but the rules are still the same: to boldly go where no one has gone before, with humour, courage and logic. But the logic doesn't come from Vulcan anymore, it comes, as all good computer information should, from data.
I require advice. Don't look at me. No, Data. I simply mean that I can't give you any advice here. It's not good to advise people about their first love affairs.
We had a new room we're put in on the ship called a bar lounge, a place where you can go and it's not a duty station and you can relax. And I had several thoughts for this. One of those was the fact that I needed one hell of a bartender hostess. And we were thinking of getting the most beautiful girl in all creation to play the part. And thank God Whoopi called up and said, I am a Star Trek fan. I was a Star Trek fan before I was ever Whoopi Goldberg even. And I was wondering if there's some part I can play on your show.
There's so much that people have learned by the 24th century. You notice that there's no problem between delegating responsibility between men and women. There's no color problems. They're just sort of basic Adam and Eve problems, like how are we going to get home sort of things, and how can we save this bunch of people from dying. There seems to be no hassle. There's no problem with men with no hair, or that, you know, some guy's got a huge forehead. The Klingons have cooled out. I mean, things are going well for the world.
Star Trek The Next Generation has proved to be as big a success as the original series. It's won major awards, and with well over 100 episodes in the can to date, this time it looks as if no one's going to make the mistake of cancelling the show. We couldn't even dream of featuring them all here on Movies, though we've done our best. So here's just a little taste. Star Trek's youngest hero, Ensign Wesley Crusher, finds himself in classic trouble, fighting to save his captain's life.
It worked!
Captain Picard, wake up.
Star Trek The Next Generation has introduced a whole new generation of fans to the action and adventure of Star Trek. So whether it's the classic series, the movies, or the next generation, Star Trek will boldly carry on gathering fans and breaking records for a long time to come. Now, there's always been a lot of humour in Star Trek.
I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up!
And not all of it gets onto the screen. We end this week with some rarely seen footage of the times when things didn't quite go as planned during the early Star Trek shows. So, live long and prosper, and goodbye from me, Steve Priestley. Join me again next time on Movies.
That's them fast. What's going on here?
Okay.
Stay with me.
Stand back. I don't know about you, but this is not the way it works. I want to know.
Next week's program features a Spies in Space special.
Oh, you challenge me, don't you? Yes, if you have the courage.
I'm fine, boss. Well, you all right? And, Captain, you're in good hands with Triple.
ITV Saturday.